Hey guys, it's JFCM Snakes here, and on today's episode of Snake Debate, I am joined with Brian Kusko.
Howdy.
And on today's episode, we will be discussing the topic of live feeding. We'll just be discussing our different opinions on it, the advantages and disadvantages. Brian's channel, Triple B, will be in the description down below, so if you want to go and check out him, you can. So we'll get straight into this now.
So the way I see it, there are pros and cons to both live and frozen. I'll start off with the pros for live, which are basically education and even entertainment, which is a tough thing to say because it's not really a nice thing to think of, something dying as entertainment, but humans as a species are naturally drawn to death. You see on the news all the time, car crashes or anything like that, you see people go just like moths to the flame. So there is that, and as far as education goes, to see an animal hunt a live animal in the flesh, there's something to be learned from that. I used to bring my snakes to school when I was a kid all the time for show and tell in science class, and I'd do a live feeding, and it was a place for people to learn and see how these animals act in the wild. A lot of things people do, a lot of the reasons I think that some people defend feeding live is that's how they eat in the wild. Now there's obviously an argument against that, which is they're not wild animals any longer, they're pets. They're basically domesticated. And so those are basically the only pros that I can see for feeding live. Now the cons would be that it's obviously you can do a lot of harm to your snake. Those rats and mice have some pretty serious teeth, and you can do some real damage to your pet. And then if for some reason the snake doesn't want to eat that rat, then you have a rat that you have to care for and feed and keep alive until possibly wants it. Maybe a cage to keep it in. Now, anything smaller than say a rat pup or a pinky, I think is fine for feeding to a snake, because they don't have teeth yet and they're not going to be of any harm to that animal. So if you have baby snakes that are not accepting the frozen pinkies or pups, I think live is okay in that instance, because those animals won't do any harm to your snake. Now as far as frozen goes, I feed frozen all the time.
Yeah, same with me.
I fed live when I was a kid, and essentially didn't know any better, and I'd watch the snake. I never had any issue, but that's not to say I couldn't have. Now the pros to frozen, I believe, are cost and time.
Much cheaper.
Efficient. It's much cheaper, and you don't have to go to the pet store every week. Every time you need to feed, you can keep all your prey in your freezer for months at a time. There's absolutely no harm to the snake, or the amount of harm that is possible to your snake is so small. And you don't have to care for the rats if they don't eat them. You just throw them away or put them in the freezer. And the only cons I could see to frozen are that some snakes maybe won't accept the frozen meal. I personally haven't found that to be true in my instance, but I know it is possible that there are some snakes out there that just won't accept the frozen meal. And then maybe the preparation. Instead of just grabbing a live mouse or rat and throwing it in there, you have to defrost it. And I personally heat mine up so that the snakes will see the heat signature and pick up on it when they feed. But for me, that's basically frozen. Frozen is the only way to go, in my opinion.
Well, me personally, I have always will do feed frozen thawed. The main reason for this is just like you said, it's a bit impractical to keep going to a pet shop to get live mice where you can store months worth of food in a freezer. And I've never had any issues with them not taking frozen thawed. I do have my one raw python who has eaten frozen thawed, has gone off, but that's nothing to do with being live. Like you said, I think there's always that issue with live feedings, that you get that sense that they're not in the wild. Like in the wild, the mouse would have a chance to escape, whereas in captivity they don't have that opportunity, and there's no real need to feed live when you can feed frozen thawed. But I definitely agree that there's cons to it and there's pros, especially with getting non-feeders back on feed. I see how a lot of breeders, especially in the US, do it. I don't think it's as common in the UK, because I think we have a bit of stricter laws on live feeding, but it's definitely more of a common practice in the US. But I don't necessarily disagree with live feeding, I just wouldn't do it myself, if that makes sense. I see how there is pros to it, but I've always used frozen thawed. I think it's the best way to go. But like I said, I don't see any issues with live feeding when it's necessary. Unless you have anything to add?
No, I think that's about it. I mean, I think we definitely agree on this. Not much of a debate. We'd be debating against maybe somebody who does feed live. But yeah, no, I think we definitely agree that frozen thawed is the way to go.
So, if you have enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe. Like I said at the start of this video, Brian's channel will be in the description, so please go and subscribe to him. You are approaching 400 subscribers, am I right? Something like that?
Something like that, yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think I've gotten another 100 in like the last month or something, so it's growing pretty nicely.
Well, your videos have definitely got a great quality to them, so it won't be long.
Thanks, Cam, I appreciate that.
So like I said, if you haven't enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you all on Saturday with comparing some heating for snakes.